I know. Dude, yeah, that's what they want. That's like. You ready, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have a time for Friday?
Yeah, I'll 11. Yes, sir.
11?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Can you, yeah, see if you can do that. Let me know if not.
I blocked that out. I don't want to get there at 10 if it's not.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay, let's call this work session to order. Chairman Ayers is on vacation, so I'll be chairing the meeting. And we'll do roll call. Mr. McDaniel?
Here.
Mr. Day?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Present.
And I am here. So we'll turn it over to whoever wants to take the lead.
Afternoon, members of the board. Today we just wanted to have a work session to kind of show you what we've been working on as far as a website redesign project. For a little bit of a background on this, basically Rockbridge County had signed up with Civic Plus for their website over a decade ago, I believe it was, in 2013. And Civic Plus is that vendor. They're a pretty popular municipal website vendor. I think, well over 5,000 plus localities have them as a hosting provider. With that, we pay a yearly maintenance and support fee to Civic Plus to maintain the website and keep it up and running. What we get from that is basically what our current design was, which I'm sure you're all familiar with the current website. And then basically, it gives us the tools to get in there and edit pages, add pages, remove pages, manipulate the content. That's sort of the locality's responsibility. If we're not sure how to do something, they're generally very responsive and fixing it. But part of that contract also included a website redesign, which we just never taken that project on. So we basically looked at around, I think the first emails, they were trying to push us at it because the code of ours is getting so old that it's making the website less accessible and certain functions aren't working as well. And so part of the redesign is to also improve on that and put more modern code in there. So yeah, we began talks in April. We didn't get our first meeting until like beginning of May. And that was just kind of an overview of what we're looking at doing. And that's when we started. We created a committee that consisted of Brandy, Vivica, and myself to start working on this. It was good timing as that was right around when the economic development branding rollout campaign was being completed. So it was a good time to start bringing in all of that additional branding content and logos and colors and schemes to the website. So the main goal of the redesign project, I kind of want to do one thing. I want to clarify. So redesign, you should really be thinking of the website design or redesign as the look and feel and the style of the website. A restructure or architecture is going to be the fundamental layout of all of the pages and the content, how things are linked, how things are moving throughout the website. So to put it in context, the redesign doesn't address the overall architecture of the website. It's mainly the main structural changes to the homepage, which is meant to make things more easily accessible. And then just changing the design and the layout of all of the existing pages, but it won't be changing their structure, their content that's already there. And that was pretty much the main goal, is we're looking at just revamping the site for a better look and feel, making it more modern, more mobile friendly, and then addressing content and structural items we need to bring, that needs to be done by us internally, and reviewing how things are flowing currently. With that, do y'all have any questions?
Again, I've talked to the board. If I can interject, I've talked to the board. This is looking at the look and the feel, like I'm saying, the styling, it's not necessarily what buttons go where, whatever the functionality. But in order to do this, I think the committee wanted to run this by the board, show you what a few of the pages look like, show you how it feels, because they don't want to then work on the content and then have to go back and do it again if you all don't like how the website looks. So this is like a phase 2. They've already been through phase 1. They've gone through the design with the Civic Plus, the website creator. And once they get a feel good from you all, and you'll have future opportunities, we'll give you links as this progresses. But this is kind of the first blush at it. And if you kind of like what you see on the site, they can go ahead, stamp that, and start flowing this through the entire site, and then start putting the content in for fairly extensive testing before we flip over to live. Is that pretty accurate?
And I'm gonna run through just the basics on the style and design that we chose. For the graphic, for the branding, we wanted to have the naturally connected on there as well, so it pops so you see the logo, so we can establish the logo. The more you see it, the more you remember it, the more it ties into Rockbridge County. We chose to stick with the same picture that is on our current website because it is iconic, and so this front screen will have scrolling pictures, an opportunity for scrolling pictures. Right now, this is just our placeholder picture. The buttons that you see and all of the colors are part of our approved style guide for our new branding. So the colors of the buttons, and these buttons were chosen based on the analytics on which links are hit the most. So online payments, Board of Supervisors, GIS mapping, Parks and Recreation, recycling, agendas, employment, and bid posting were the top hits. So those are the buttons that we chose to have designed. Not all of those have to be on the screen at the same time. If we're not hiring, we can remove employment. And so that's but we get 8 designs, so we pick the 8 to design. The social media links are now at the top of the page. As we set up social media, we're only going to have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then of course our YouTube page, which will be a link into the YouTube channels that are used by Planning Commission, Board of Supervisors. And so that's what will happen there. So I'm sharing, right? Okay.
Is that House Mountain again, Brandy?
So as you scroll down, we're going to have county news. So this gives us an opportunity. What we can do is we can have 4 permanent placeholders here. We can have agendas, or we can have a news flash for the county that just some specific information. And then we can have actual news information on this section here. We currently have it set to where you can have a photo in it. We're deciding now as to stock photos that can be used or no photo at all. But the concept is for this to stand out more in your news feature. And then as you scroll down, stay informed is the news and updates sent directly to you. That's the current notify me that we have on our current website. So that if you want to receive, when there's a bid that's going out, you can receive the email or the news flashes as well. And then in this section, popular resources, this is where we will put the most used links that our citizens are going to be looking at. So those may not actually be the ones that stay on there as we start going through and redeveloping the content. But the style of it is for it to look like this. And then we went down, you keep going down, it's meetings and events. And we decided to go with one county calendar. So that'll have any kind of calendar events that we plug in, and it will also have the agendas, or sorry, the meeting dates in there as well. And then at the very bottom, our logo again, contact us. We'll have a list of individual contacting the county. Quick links, we're going to establish which one we want to put there. Follow us is going to be the social media links, and then site links will be additional site links for out of this website, external links. So that's what the front page will look like. Any questions on that?
Who's gonna be responsible for putting the news updates?
So we're still finalizing that. typically with the news updates, I post them quite a bit when it comes to economic development projects. So we need to establish how we're going to handle that, who's going to post them, what photo they use, and a whole process for that.
We've fallen into a pretty good process. I mean, we had a process when we originally did it, and there's several folks that can post things. Ultimately, if there's any question, I approve what's being posted, but we have, for example, news flashes when we have let's say there's a hurricane or something like that, or a press release or something like that. We will go through that. Brandy Flint, Brandy Witten, Nathan Ramsey has access to it. We got multiple people on a list that
I
have.
just want to make sure we weren't going to put it all on one person.
We're not.
In addition to everything they're doing.
In a larger organization, we'd have a PIO,
Right.
so public information officer, and we don't have that, so we kind of do it a little bit by committee, and it has generally worked pretty well. And when Brandy was talking about, for example, the pictures, whether or not we're going to put pictures here, of course, as we said, this isn't about content. Everything on there says report a concern. Well, that's not what it's going to say. But we don't want to have what did we use? A little child blowing seeds off a dandelion when we're reporting a wildfire or something like that.
Yeah.
So that stuff has got to be approved and it's just.
And one other question, probably for, by posting these dates on does that serve as public notice?
Yeah, if we actually have the notice of public hearings, we actually require to put it on our website too.
Right, but does that keep us from having to post it other places?
No, we actually have to post other places too. In front of his office.
So we did find out one of the features we are not using is in our agenda center, you can link it to your calendar. And this moving forward, that's what me for EDA board will have to start linking those to the county calendar, but it will go with the notice. So it automatically populates the calendar.
And in general, we're really not even using the calendar feature at all right now.
Yeah.
So I think the big plan is to start going through the calendar and posting at least notices that, okay, there's always going to be the board meeting on this day. So there's at least a place for them to go to. There's several of the commissions and the boards that are utilizing this. It's called this agenda center. But at some point before my time, it was that we wouldn't use the agenda center at the board of supervisors since all the agendas are done through the board docs. So the idea would be to republish the board of supervisors agenda center module so that agendas would be posted there. The public can actually subscribe to those. So whenever those notices go out, whenever the agendas are released, they get that email alert or a text alert, whatever they end up signing up for. And then in the agenda center, you have an option to just add it to the calendar. So then it gets added to the calendar as well.
This calendar is the same calendar that's on Agriculture.
It will, I think the idea would be Brandy Witten would still keep that calendar, but it would almost be like a quick link to replace for even the board or anybody else to go look at, say, what are all the meetings this week in the upcoming week?
Yeah, what I'm hoping that we'll eventually get it to is that you just go straight to the homepage and you go down to where this calendar is, and you can see any item that's in that month would be populated.
I may have missed this. Will there be a link off this to board docs?
Yes. In the
Correct.
quick links here, that would be one that would be added. Yes.
And that's where I say a lot of these things, there's going to be components that we're going to have to kind of restructure the way we currently post the board meetings and agendas. We kind of train Brandy on a slightly different process, just so that these things are on our calendar on our website and are more easily accessible or easier to see for the public. I think that's a big part of this, is so that it'll flow more conveniently for people to view that. I think when we use the agenda center, we end up sticking a link inside the agenda we create that goes to board docs. So there'll be this agenda center alert. People get that agenda center notification. They can click. It will take them to board docs to view the agenda. That's kind of how I've seen it in my head, how that would work better.
If you've got, like on today's date, this meeting, you should be able to click on the date, see what the meeting is,
Gonna
and it
take
should
you to
bring,
the agenda center.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would
That
basically
is the
show a
intent of
list,
it.
Like the 23rd, I was looking at it, you don't really, but if you click on the 23rd, events that are on the 23rd are kind of be shown.
Talking to the mic, so
Events that are on the 23rd would kind of be showing in a list, and you can click to go to those particular events. So
it
there's a few,
streamlines it,
Mhm.
makes it easier.
Yeah.
So I'll show you,
and I'm sure there'll be plenty of kinks that we work out along the way, like figuring, oh, well, these folks are doing it this way, and because like part of the issue is that the site was set up in 2013, and over all this time, people set up a page differently, or set up a process a little bit differently than another page and another page. So you kind of sometimes have these link to link situations that we want to try to. It would still technically be that option in the background, but we're trying to make it so you, rather than link here, link here, link here, you can go to these calendars or these agenda centers, and it would
it's to
quickly navigate you where you're trying to go.
it's to ever improve, get this better, and as Stefan touched on earlier, this is to make it more friendly on a mobile device. So, some of the stuff that on our website just does not work on a mobile device, and we just need to get with the times and get it so it'll work.
Will did you say the main picture that you had House Mountain, will that scroll so that?
yes, so we will have the option of having scrolling photos here.
On this top banner on the
On
home
this,
page.
this is called the banner, and so it'll rotate through photos, whatever we want to put up there.
Okay.
Because there's a really nice one of the natural bridge we have too. So the photos came from the tourism office, as well as a couple other sources from the tourism office. So
Just so they can see it, let's just click on that other page. So like right now, this is just to give you an idea of what the internal pages would look like with the new design and feel. So you'd still have this top kind of navigation bar. The page content is still set up the same. All those side panel pages are the same. We have our logo there. And if you scroll down,
and the colors have just changed to our branding colors.
right. And then if you get all the way to the bottom, so this would be an example of something maybe we want to keep that easy viewable, here are all of the dates, but then we can start plugging those dates into this calendar as another way. At
And
the bottom, it shows, I think you have the buttons at the bottom too, I believe, when you get all the way.
Yeah.
So then there's also these other quick navigation buttons on every page to the more, again, the most visited links and sites that are on our page, on our website.
We have asked them to change, because this looks so plain, we asked them to change it to this, with the picture in the background.
Because on the current, oh, that's not showing, hold on.
Oh, sure.
It was not in the browser, I'll just show you the browser. So, because right now, any page you go to has that background image of House Mountain, and then it kind of fades down. And I think when we looked at the initial, what the internal pages looked like with just the color, we thought it looked a little more bland, and we thought it'd be nice to keep that picture. But so we wanted you to be able to see what it would look like with the picture. This is not currently one that we can view live on the site.
Is there a way on some of these pages that you could do a watermark with our branding?
So the brand is going to stay at the top of every page,
Yeah.
every time.
It'll be
And so
there.
what they did at the bottom as well,
There's a
there's
little
the
watermark.
river part in there, and then and then it's down at the bottom again. So it is
At
on
the
there
bottom
quite
of
a
every
bit.
page.
It's on the
but-
bottom of every page, and it stays on the top line.
Or I guess if maybe what you're referring to would be
You mean in the document itself, right?
having the watermark kind of like that, that's on a background image. I guess like, but we wouldn't use that. We'd use a logo, I would imagine.
I was just thinking when you went to those other pages, if it was the R, our new brand, somehow on those if it was a watermark, like just where you could see the outline of it.
I think we can maybe, so you're talking about kind of just having the R.
Yeah, on the, like when you're looking at Board of Supervisors page right there, if it was in the background, just a watermark, a faint. I don't know if you need it or not. I'm just asking if it could be done.
We can check with them because this is part, because they're the web design team. So we can't really adjust certain things like that from the design concept. So any of those, we can certainly request to see what that would look like. Because I
just think the more that we
Yeah.
use it, the
Yeah.
more recognizable, the more people are gonna,
And that's the reason
And
for it being in the top.
what I'm
too.
thinking with what you're saying is if we make our current background to be this image, where right now we have this populates everywhere you go. If we requested to have that R kind of smacked into the current picture, with what, like right now, that's what that view would be if we had the R there.
Are you saying take the picture out altogether and just have the watermark at the R?
oh man, I don't mind the picture. I think it adds to it, but I was thinking on the white pages, you
On
know,
the
if you-
document.
on the
So-
document, if you had the watermark,
In the page content
Right.
portion.
yeah.
So like somewhere in the background of this
Yes.
white space,
I got you. Okay.
Kind of taking the whole background.
Yeah, I got you.
and just have it maybe populate every
Yeah.
certain amount of time on the way down.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of what we first saw when we looked at this. We thought it didn't really pop. It looked kind of plain. So, and that was where we had requested to maybe have that image in the background. But yeah, I think we'll certainly request if we can have I think there'll be probably some pages where it might, depending on how it lines up, where the content is on that page, maybe it's blocked by content, or maybe it interferes with it. So those.
Yeah,
are the
maybe it
things.
doesn't have to be like where you got our names and the 5 members. Maybe it don't have to be up there, but as you scroll down where you got quick links, maybe it could be a watermark right in behind it or something,
Like here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I guess
Yeah, why?
the one thing to think of, like, just to get a better understanding of it, and I'm gonna just go to a different internal page as an example, because every page is a little bit different layout and like where the certain content may be. It's just now trying to load up. So I think that would be something where we kind of request if it's, like a watermark in the background, because it's on we're not going to be able to specify to have it in this location on this page and this location on that page. It's going to have to be kind of a set.
But if it's a large whole page, on some pages, you won't pick up the whole thing, but you'll pick up parts of it.
Thinking,
I don't think we
it'd
want
be a
just
pretty
another-
large, pretty blown up watermark.
Yeah, about the size of the
in
page,
that-
yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
it's
we
in
can
the
certainly
background.
check on that. We'll see if that's something they can do. 'Cause yeah, and that's what the design is dealing with what we want every page to kind of, there's a default look to them.
well, thank you for not using all browns. That's much
That's-
better.
We are using our branding colors.
Yes, indeed. And so, yeah, where we kind of are at the moment is still just reviewing the design that they provided us, pointing out things that we maybe want to change or want to look at. So, we will definitely bring this up to them, that particular option.
But other than that, the colors need.
Move that sheet up just so this I can see those
Which one?
dots, at the bottom,
Yeah,
the
can you,
buttons.
can you run through which ones those are again?
Well,
Online payments,
and what is that going?
that
Right.
will take, when you click on it, it's
Click
gonna
on it.
take you to, no, the page is not.
This page won't look like the
It'll have the
current
new
site.
update, but it takes you into where the payments are, the link to,
Right.
PSA,
Yeah, PSA has their
PSA,
water
yes.
bill here.
and the real estate.
Real estate or
person.
personal payment, that goes, and this is again where this is maybe something that can be refined, but when we go to make an online payment, that's taking us away from our website entirely. That's to our internally hosted web server. that connects to our financial system and all of that.
Which will of course change with the new software.
So and again, a lot of these things are just kind of how the original flow is structured. Whenever that occurred, but yeah, that's what that one button navigates to. Back to the home page. You got the Board of Supervisors. That would take you to this page here. Again, right now, where these buttons are going to go to the actual where the site currently is, the production site. So if we click on it right now, it's going to take you to our existing Board of Supervisors page.
Because it's not live yet with the updates.
We have like a test view that we're referencing here, and we can provide you the links for that. And then there was like an extension link. So if you notice here, Board of Supervisors page, we have this little extension at the end that allows us to see what the color design layout would look like for a specific internal page. But yeah, right now that's where these buttons are going. And it's not what it was because
GIS, of course, takes you into the GIS mapping.
which is also another externally hosted website. So you see we're now no longer on our county website, but this is where our GIS is hosted here. For when the people wanted to look up their property records. Parks and Recreation will go to the
Parks and Rec
Parks
page.
and Recreation page. That one ends up being visited a lot, especially during summer when everybody's camping, and we've had an influx of campers. So
It's the last one. Does that say bid posting?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that takes you into the link if we've got any
RFPs out.
open RFPs.
So again, these buttons were chosen based on the analytics of what's.
Well, it
pages
seems,
and
yeah,
sites are
exactly
using.
like what the top searches would be. Yeah.
And again, we can add and remove. This was just to ensure we had 8 of them designed. So if we're not hiring, we can pull employment off and then it shrinks it down. We have less showing.
Yeah, employment was hit a lot during that time because that was when all these different jobs were up for fire rescue and for the IT. There was
Now,
a lot of jobs out of that.
Randy still got.
can you add more than that?
More buttons?
Yeah.
You can, and they will give us the template to do so. The problem is when you look at it on mobile, the more you have, the more you're scrolling. So having their recommendation was 8, no more than 8, because then you're constantly scrolling on the mobile portion of it.
And then it gets a little more clunky.
Yeah.
And then if we had more than 8, then I can't recall if it fits them into the one.
Or could you have more than 8, but only 8 up at a time? For example, if we're not hiring,
Switch it with a.
switch it
different one.
and maybe put planning zoning, because that seems to be a hot topic people want to see.
The revamp only included 8. Like that's it. That's all they're designing is 8. We would have to design the
Oh,
rest of them, but
right.
they'll give us the template. to
Right,
do yeah.
so. But I'm saying if we have 8 and then you take one down,
We could put another one up.
right, that's
Direct to the county administrator.
complaint.
Yeah.
Report of concern.
That's why I saw the report of concern thing. Oh, where's that going to?
Including cell phone and home address.
Oh, yeah, all names.
And I'll point out too, County News did say stay informed, but I asked them to change it to stay connected, so it goes into her.
Yeah.
Slogan.
Good. While you're right there, those pictures, I mean, I really like that. Is there a way, and I mean, this might be more trouble and hassle, but I was thinking like our existing businesses throughout the county, if they could submit one picture that kind of is reflective of their business, and we could possibly use it for some of these basically free advertising for some of our, is that possible or not, or?
My thought process would be like during Business Appreciation Month, we utilize social media more and like call, local businesses and put them on social media and show them. If there's a big event going on, like an expansion or something like that, we could have them send us a picture of their business and then have that be the photo. These are just placeholder photos. So if, say for instance, Modine's expansion, we could have had the Airedale chiller sign here on the screen that said Modine expansion in the news flash.
I kind of get what Supervisor McDaniel's talking
But
about.
yeah, it's an opportunity.
When if we just solicited or polled businesses and say, hey, if you've got a picture of your business that you'd like to add to our stock photos, not guaranteeing we're going to be able to use it, but if you want to send them in, that'll give us an opportunity to maybe, where we have opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you want.
Our library.
And they could cycle through. I mean, it would just be a continuous rotation.
What jumped out to me with the question was Spencer's often referred to, he doesn't want us putting certain things on quick links when people are asking us to put stuff on our websites. He's like, we could get in trouble for advertising for a business.
Well, and I'm not too worried about those things as much, because I think overall you can just that if we do, just talk to me before we send that out so I can draft a release that they sign to make it clear that we can utilize whatever they have and there's no claims that they have towards us. But from advertising the business, as long as it's just throwing up a picture, I think part of our job is to advertise businesses that are here. So I think we're okay with that, as long as you still want to be suing us because we're just advertising just one company.
When it's not worth, we're telling somebody to go buy their flowers from this particular shop. It's
Yeah,
just a picture of their shop. I mean,
Yeah, from a legal point of view, I see no problem. Like, I just want to make sure we have a release. We can give them
I
the
mean, I
sign.
could see like on the 4th of July, there being a picture there that's a local business that maybe had decorated for the 4th of July. That'd be the photo when it says Rockbridge County office is closed for 4th of July. That would work.
Stefan touched on something too. When you've got a PIO and somebody that's over all this, you can have some policies and adhere to policies about we are inundated all the time with links. Can you link to my 501c3 that might be based in Seattle, or all these different links? If we just kind of willy-nilly just post all these links, before you know it, we're inundated with links, and we're not following up on those to make sure that they haven't been hijacked, or they haven't, that we're not linking to something that is not in the county's realm of oversight, sphere of influence. So what we have kind of unofficially done, if the board funds a business, or it's a business, a 501c3 or something like that, a group that we do business with, if you will, and the board funds them, we'll put links to their site, like Rockbridge
I
Area
guess it's
Health,
connected to Rockbridge and
Rockbridge Area Health Center, something like that. But when you've got student support center out of Oklahoma or something, we just don't do it.
I mean, I get them all the time. Oh, we were reviewing the quick links. Can you put this on the site? And,
Can you link to our
can you
site?
link to this? Like there were some that were for rehab services. I mean, there's countless examples. But
the other thing is, I mean, in my job, I use a lot of governmental websites to research stuff, and a lot of them are just really a pain to navigate. So my thing would be make it accurate and make it easy. And I like the ability to have a committee do this, but we got to make sure it's up to date. I go to a lot of municipality websites and it's out of date, or you click on a link and it takes you nowhere. I mean, first
that's
impression.
a problem on our website as well.
We have quite a
currently.
few of them right
that's,
now.
That's a major issue. But I mean, like, I'm not able, I don't know when so-and-so hired somebody or when their times change. So a lot of it's up to their department, really, and the different roles of that department to review their site and what they have on their site. So as far as the restructuring, that's going to be a very lengthy project. It's out of the scope of what the redesign is. Again, we want to get the facelift, make it more mobile friendly. And then we're going to need to start finding those things, because a lot of it, I don't even know there's an issue, because like you said, it's hard to navigate. I don't know. And half the time I get asked to update a page and update this, and I don't even know where exactly they're referring to. So I need to have a specific URL so that I know
Again,
what
that's
I'm editing.
where
That's going.
PIO comes in, somebody managing all that stuff. So we have, even with those, I think as a group, we've done a pretty good job of doing the best we can on keeping up with those things. And for example, recreation doesn't really update their site. Maybe that's an area where we can focus on and get somebody, when we started this process 10 years ago, we had somebody in every department that was responsible for their updates. Some of those people are not here anymore. So that's part of the plan, to just revamp those we go.
For the most part, I've done a lot of training with departments for like when they ask for like a simple edit from me, I say, okay, here, I'm going to show you how to do it. Whether that's being done all the time. And there's some things that they would not be able to edit or change if it's structural or setting up a page or whatever. So those are things that, I mean, I get requests all the time. Oh, we need to add this to the site. We need to add this to the site. Sometimes I've got very limited information of what I'm adding or where. So those are all kind of.
We're gonna get
internal
better at that.
structural things.
And I'm the backup. I help people with their pages too.
And Stefan's done a really good job now working with Penny for things that we've been coming to talk to have things done. So I know he's been very responsive when we have people that work with him. So I appreciate that.
And then, and then the agenda, center, I know we need to start putting all those meetings, those notifications somehow. So we started having all the different committees and boards in the agenda center so that every time there's a notification needs to get released to the public. So yeah, we can continue to improve upon some of that. And again, with a little bit of restructuring on how we post things so that easier navigable front page will follow up with the rest of the website content.
Yep, that's phase 4.
Phase 4, phase 5.
Yes. But overall, the design and style.
Are we good with the
Good with
current?
Much better than what it was.
We spent a lot of
Or
time
we're not gonna
looking at
picture.
other county pages.
And I'll point out, Vivica isn't at the podium, but she contributed mightily to this
I
as
was just
well.
getting ready to ask you, was there anything you thought
our note
special
taker
you needed
tonight.
to let us know about? Not that these two haven't done an admirable job also.
The only thing that I was going to add is that this website redesign does help with the accessibility. So certain features that people may need to better use and access the site have been updated compared to our previous website. So that does help the general population being able to fully access our site.
It actually, there's a compliance thing with that too, because there's a accessibility for compared, I'm forgetting the exact legal compliance requirement, but there's standards for how your site should be structured for people with disabilities. This will help with that as well.
Is it have you done or have you thought about potentially doing some sort of survey to the county residents or businesses as to, have you used our website? What do you like? What do you not like? What would you like to see? I mean, have you thought about any of that?
We have not done that.
But I do know from conversations with some of them, it's the inability to find certain things that have been the worst, like the agendas, or the comp plan, those kind of things. This will make that a lot easier, what we have now. But no, we did not do any surveys. We just did internal, the 3 of us.
And maybe something after this new design is rolled out, we could put on a news flash of sort of
Make a suggestion
suggestions.
and then populate that data and for the next revamp, fix it.
Because I think the prior phases after the design are going to be kind of fixed over time as things are noticed. People navigate, so. Any other questions? Would we be okay to proceed with the design look and feel?
Believe so. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
All right, we'll close the work session and our regular meeting will be called to order at 5:30.
Stefan, have you got that?
I'm gonna pause in just a moment. Okay. I'm moving myself.
Okay.
Okay, we'll call to order of the Monday, September 23rd, Board of Supervisors meeting. Mr. Suter, will you take roll, please?
I will. Supervisor Lewis.
Present.
Supervisor Day.
Here.
Supervisor McDaniel.
Here.
And Vice Chair Lyons.
Here, and Ms. Ayers is on vacation. We will now offer an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Those attending are not required to participate, but if you'd like to join us, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today humbled and thankful for your mercy and grace. We thank you for the rain you're providing us. We thank you for our fire, rescue, police, and first responders. As every September, we remember 9/11. We ask for your guidance, direction, and leadership while conducting the business of the county. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will hold citizens' comments near the beginning of the meeting. We'll do our best to take citizens' comments remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join by telephone, you may dial in one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise your hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you're calling in by phone. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Hearing none, then the agenda will stand approved. We will now welcome citizen comments. When your name is called, please address the board at the podium stating your first and last name and magisterial district. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. There is a timer on the table for your convenience. Is there anyone signed up to speak in person?
No, sir.
Okay, is there anyone online?
No one with their hand raised.
Is there anyone in the meeting room that wishes to speak and didn't sign up? Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review the draft minutes? Are there any questions or comments about the minutes?
Provide a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Mr. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. School appropriations resolution.
Yes, before you is a resolution requesting approval, the appropriation of funds for Fund 50 in the amount of $675,175 in new grants and $5,004 in carryover grants for a total of $680,179. Resolution also includes approval of $3,927,152 in appropriations for Fund 70 for the Rockbridge County High School Innovation Center project.
Any questions?
Possibly in the future, when the schools get a grant, could they just possibly provide us what type of grant it is, just so we're aware? Maybe make that request. It's always good they're getting grants, just like to know what they're getting.
Yes, I can mention that to them, that it's a little bit more. We could try to detail that a little bit more on the resolution itself. Where those, we have which line items, but yeah, we can ask them to be a little bit more.
It doesn't have to be very specific. We got a grant for X.
So we can tell them to be a little bit more specific or ask them.
Any other questions?
Provide a motion for approval.
Have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second? Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. County appropriations resolution?
Yes, before you is a resolution requesting authorizing the payment of bills and additional appropriations. The total amount of bills this period is $322,667.24. And that includes 236,450 as a transfer to the capital construction fund for a new boiler system at the courthouse, which also is a similar appropriation and same amount for the capital construction fund. If that's the boiler, I've explained in my memo that's included in your board packet. The Finance Committee did meet on September 17th to discuss options for the boiler system, and the replacement of the boiler system was determined to be the most long-term cost-effective solution. If that is acceptable to the board, we had also asked that the board authorize the county administrator to execute an agreement to that effect. 17% of the fiscal year has passed. Our sales tax revenue is $708,459, or 18% of the estimated budget. Meals tax is $586,653, or 17% of the estimated budget. Lodging tax revenue is $586,653, or 17% of the estimated budget. And emissions tax is at $83,402, or 24% of the estimated budget. Enclosed in your packet was a spreadsheet showing the year-over-year comparisons.
Okay, are there any questions?
The Finance Committee did recommend replacement of both boilers. Just fixing the one, we didn't feel like that was adequate, and if we just replaced one, the other one might fail tomorrow, so we felt it was fiscally responsible just to go ahead and replace both. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second? Any further questions? Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And chair votes yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, consideration of the VATI broadband agreements. Mr. Suter.
Yes, as you are aware, the county was awarded two VATI telecommunication initiative, or Virginia Telecommunication Initiative, otherwise VATI grants, in July. In conjunction with the Central Shenandoah Planning District Commission, we're working with the internet service providers of those two awards, respectively, Bark and Brightspeed, to satisfy pre-construction requirements that were put in place by the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. This is just one step of many toward the mid-November deadline of solidifying and fully accepting those grants. We'll be coming to you in the future, likely with another agreement with the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. But for this one, one requirement is execution of an agreement with each internet service provider, detailing the roles and responsibilities of both the internet service provider and the county. And I've attached two draft documents, for one for Bark and one for Brightspeed. They're very similar. And at minimum, the county's contributions via the American Rescue Act plan, ARPA funds, must be expended by December 31st, 2026. And both of these agreements provide for that. The Bark board actually approved this, their portion of this last week. And Brightspeed they're under final review, but essentially they have approved. They just need to sign. And Mr. Dryden has reviewed and approved both content and the form of the agreements. And our request is for you to consider approval of the agreement subject to any non-substantive changes as may occur, that when we send these to DHCD, and this is the process, I'd rather send them in advance, get the approval, and then get them approved, but this is the way it needs to be done. So if they have any non-substantive edits that they'd like to put in there, I'd like to be able to do that administratively. And we ask that you consider these with individual votes, one for the Brightspeed and another one for the Bark agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Which one might we be handling first? I have a statement I need to read.
Brightspeed. And this will take care of almost the entire county except for
Vesuvius.
Yeah,
there's still going to be some long drop folks. Like I got a gentleman I've been talking to, lives on Salings Mountain in Glasgow, and he's got a 1.5 mile long driveway, and this one's not going to get to him. It's just cost prohibitive. But and there's a few of them out in the county that we're going to have to deal with, and we've got what's known as the BEAD funding, Broadband Equity and Access Funds. It's $1.45 billion awarded to the state of Virginia from the federal government that we're going to close in those holes. But to answer your question, the vast majority of folks are this will take care of the connections, and this is fiber to the door.
If I may, the Vesuvius build grant that we didn't get included Brownsburg as well, so there's a hole there. Just to be clear.
No, Brightspeed.
The Verizon contract that
we ported that one to Brightspeed, so the Brownsburg area is covered
with Brightspeed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, was not aware of that.
Yep, it is.
Okay. Any other questions from Mr. Suter? All right. Is there a motion to adopt the proposed agreement with Brightspeed and authorize the county administrator to execute subject to any non-substantial edits as may occur? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes.
Dr. Lyons,
Mr. Lewis?
I abstain from discussion or voting related to an agreement between Rockbridge County and Bar Connects. And my disclosure statement required under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3115F is on file with the clerk of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, thank you. Now, is there a motion to adopt the proposed agreement with Bark and authorize the county administrator to execute subject to any non-substantive edits as may occur?
Second.
All right. Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you all very much.
PCO appointments, representative of the Planning Commission, term expires 2/12/28. Mr. Beebe has agreed to serve if appointed. I don't believe we had any other applicants.
I would move we approve Mr. Beebe.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Rockbridge County Public Service Authority, Jay Melvin's term expires 10/14. Has agreed to be reappointed unless there's someone else, so.
Mr. Chair, I have the pleasure of serving on the PSA with both of these gentlemen, and they both do an excellent job serving the county. So I'll make a motion to reappoint Mr. Melvin at this time.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Rockbridge County Public Service Authority, Greg Mullen. Terms expires on 10/14. He's agreed to be reappointed.
I move we approve.
All right.
Second.
And we have a second. All right. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We will now break until 6 PM where we will begin the public hearing. Point of emphasis, sir.
Yeah, on the motion to approve the county bills, been told that we need to also have a motion for our county administrator to negotiate and execute the contract for the buller at the courthouse, and I'll make that motion.
Okay. And a second. All right, Mr. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Day, Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
and the chair votes yes.
Thank you, Mr. McDaniel, for remembering that.
All right, we'll start our public hearings. Mr. Slade?
Yes, the first public hearing is associated, the first two public hearings is associated with Virginia Electric Power Company. We'll proceed for the first one, which is public utilities in the agricultural zoning district, agricultural and general use, A2 zoning district. And if you don't mind, I'll share my screen. All right. Virginia Electric and Power Company, DBA Dominion Power, has made an application for a special exception permit to rebuild a portion of its 115 kV transmission line that is located on the west side of the existing Balcony Falls substation. The substation is, if you follow my screen here, substation is located right here on the north side of Glasgow Highway. The property is in the agricultural and general use districts, A2, per section 603.03-9 of the regulations, County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. Public utilities are used by special exception in the A2 zoning district. Property is located in Natural Bridge Magisterial District. To back up a little bit, y'all may recall that the Dominion Power has successfully gone through essentially two different applications associated with this area. The first one was associated with the rebuilding of the power or the substation itself, which was a public utility in the agricultural zone. The second application included one rebuild of a tower on the west side of the substation. And then, if I recall correctly, the rebuild of four existing towers and one new tower going to Amherst. And so this is just an extension of that existing 115 kV transmission line. Again, the first application, I'm going to turn on my zoning. The first public hearing application we have is associated with the agricultural zoning district. And so what we have on the screen is this magenta circle here is the structure that is going to be torn down and rebuilt. And then you can see the highlighted yellow stars. Those are existing lattice towers that are going to remain in place. They will be doing some work to the electrical lines in those locations, but those towers are going to remain as is. So this is all in an agricultural zoning district on that side of the road. The second application is essentially on the west side of Glasgow Highway. On September 11th, 2024, the Planning Commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the special exception with the following conditions. Number one, substantial compliance with the schematic plan titled Balcony Falls to Buena Vista Phase 1, prepared for Dominion Energy, prepared by Kimberly Horn. Number two, substantial compliance with the chart titled Table 1, existing and proposed structure types and heights. Shall be allowed a 10% variation in structure height for all structures referenced therein, not to exceed 100 feet for any structure. Number three, upright support structures, poles, and cross arms shall be H-frame construction or monopole. Sorry, I'm gonna add that one in here. I think that's correct. And or monopole construction made of core tin, weathered steel with galvanized cross arms. And then number four, approval contingent on final VDOT erosion and sediment control approvals. Number five, final draft condition is implementation of the project by October 21st, 2024, and project completion by April 1st, 2025. So since that time, there has been some discussion about additional condition that pertains to the removal of the tower structure foundation. A seventh condition could be added that requires the removal of tower foundations. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ms. Lane Carr local permitting consultant with Dominion Power, but also would like to recognize Sarah Hackney is in attendance, as well as the external affairs representative with Dominion as well.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. You pretty much explained the project. This is phase one of a larger rebuild project. So we will be back in the coming months to represent phase two. This transmission line, 115 kV transmission line, is over 100 years old. So it has reached its end of life, and we need to be sure it's rebuilt to provide reliable service to the surrounding area. Chris, could you go to my presentation, please?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So for this first application in the agricultural zoning district, we're really just replacing one structure. And I want to show you a photo simulation of what that will look like. So down there in the A2.
Is this the correct one?
See, one slide up, please.
Oops.
The H-frame structure. There should be, I think it's page 2 of the PDF.
Oh, sorry, page 3, sorry.
There you go.
Chris, you might want to clear the text recognition box. Let's go up, hit clear. There you go. Nope, nope. Oh, all right.
Go. And if you can scroll down a little bit more, there's some text at the bottom of this specific slide. There you go. Thank you. So for this first application, we are replacing that one existing lattice tower that stands 97 feet above ground to an H-frame weathering steel structure 92 feet above ground. This is on property, like you said, east of Route 501. We have our VDOT construction entrance permit, and we have our DEQ environmental construction general permit for this project. That's all I have for this application number 1.
Any questions? Thank you.
So on this one, to back up a little bit, I apologize. Number 4 stands for this particular application. It would be appropriate for number 4 to state, as recommended by the Planning Commission, upright support, structured poles, and cross arms shall be H-frame construction made of Corten weathered steel.
Okay. At this time, we'll open the public hearing.
No one has signed up on the sheets.
Is there anyone online, Mr. Sue?
No one has a hand raised.
Okay, anyone in the room that didn't get a chance to sign up that would like to speak? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Comments from the board?
Appreciate Dominion upgrading the system there. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and a second. All right, Mr. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Mr. Slayton?
Yes, I'm going to share my screen again to get everyone oriented. So the second application pertains to the use in the floodway. This is going to be located on the east side of Glasgow Highway. If I back up, well, here we go. Virginia Electric and Dominion, or excuse me, Virginia Electric and Power Company, DBA Dominion Power, has made an application for a special exception permit to rebuild a portion of its 115 kV transmission line. The portion of the line that is associated with the special application starts approximately 0.2 miles north of the intersection of Rockbridge Road, further identified as 130, and Glasgow Highway 501, and ends on the south side of the southern intersection of River Road and Glasgow Highway. The total length of the proposed projects is approximately 1.2 miles. Properties are located in the general industrial zoning district. So I'm going to turn off my floodway real quick, or floodplain, I should say, and turn on the zoning. Everything on that side of the road that pertains to this application, again, is located in the general industrial zoning district, I-1, and within the floodplain hazard area. We'll turn off my zoning and turn the floodplain back on. And again, within the flood hazard overlay district, that's considered FH1. All of these structures are in zone AE hatched, and that's considered the floodway per section 607.02-19 of the regulations. Public utilities are permitted use in the I-1 zoning district per section 608.11-2, parentheses 2 of the regulations. Utilities and public facilities are used by special exception in the zone AE hatched. Again, that's the flood zone. Property is located in the Natural Bridge Magisterial District. The application that was associated with an earlier planning commission was withdrawn and a new application was submitted. On September 11th, 2024, the planning commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the special exception application with the following conditions. Number one, substantial compliance with the schematic plan titled Balcony Falls to Buena Vista Phase 1 prepared for Dominion Energy prepared by Kimley Horn. Number two, substantial compliance with the plan titled Balcony Falls to Buena Vista Phase 1 construction access. That has to do with matting of the property and the construction routes to and from. Number three, substantial compliance with the chart titled Table 1, existing and proposed structure types and height shall be allowed a 10% variation in structure height for all structures referenced therein, not to exceed 100 feet for any structure. Upright, that currently reads as in your agenda report, currently upright support structures, poles, and cross arms shall be H-frame construction made of core 10/weathered steel with galvanized cross arms. That does need to be updated for this particular application because they're utilizing monopoles in some cases, and I'll let Ms. Carr chat to that, but it should be updated to say upright support structures and poles and cross arms shall be monopole or H-frame construction made of core 10 weathered steel with galvanized cross arms. Number four, approval contingent on final VDOT erosion and sediment control approvals. Number six, implementation of the project by October 21st, 2024, and project completion by April 1st, 2025. And again, there has been some discussion about additional condition that pertains to removal of the tower structure foundation. A seventh condition that could be added that requires the removal of the tower foundations. This application may be more palatable to include that condition because, as you can see, the last application was very mountainous, heavy terrain, heavy topography, if you will, area. This one is going through an existing, from what I understand, property. With that, I'd like to turn the floor back over to Ms. Carr and Ms. Hackney.
Thank you. And I apologize. I failed to introduce myself last time. My name is Lane Carr. I am a siting and permitting specialist in Dominion Energy's electric transmission business unit. So I assist in securing all the permits necessary to rebuild transmission lines, construct new lines, rebuild substations, expand substations, build new substations, etc. Thank you, Chris, for phase 2. This is more ag field that you're going to see here. I will note that we do need to install about 1,000 feet of a temporary transmission line, and that is to maintain distribution feed to Mohawk Industries. Those 7 temporary transmission wood poles will be in place for about 5 to 6 months. We have acquired a temporary easement from the landowner, and the term of that easement has work commencing on October 1st, 2024 and ending by April 1st, 2025. So I'm just going to go through a few photo simulations. We're replacing 9 existing structures. One of those is an existing steel lattice structure being replaced with a weathering steel monopole. We go to the next slide. The remainder of the structures are existing wood poles, all being replaced with weathering steel monopoles. There's about 3 instances you'll see in the picture on the left where you have the existing wood pole and an associated support structure, a switch structure is what we call it. At those 3 locations where you currently have 2 wood poles, those will be condensed into just 1 weathering steel monopole. Next slide. That's just another example. Photo simulation, and this is a photo simulation of the proposed temporary line and the 7 structures that will be there for about 5 to 6 months. On the right, you can see what that will look like. So to reiterate, we do have our DEQ permit. We have our VDOT construction entrance permits. We have met with the landowner who owns most of the land on the northern section of this project area. We've showed them the proposed access since our on-site field meeting with our construction coordinator that happened a couple weeks ago. They were able to revise some of the proposed timber mat access roads that will go through these ag fields, again, trying to minimize any crop damage. We do have a policy in place where farmers are compensated for their crop damage. We work with the local extension office to verify the amount of crop damage, and those landowners are reimbursed by Dominion Energy. I think that's all I had on that slide. And I think, yeah, the rest here you've got in your packet. I won't go through each of those. I believe you have a copy of that, but if we need to look more closely at this, at the one you just showed, just shows each structure individually. You talked about removal of foundations. Thanks for bringing that up. We did also discuss that with the landowner at the on-site field meeting a few weeks ago. Our typical standard in ag fields is to remove any existing concrete foundations to a depth of 24 inches below ground level, but we have agreed to remove any existing foundations to a minimum of 36 inches for this project. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Carr, you probably had the data up there. Was there any height difference, is there more height?
Yes.
I don't know sure what I'm.
Yes, and I think you've got a comparison table in your packet as well. So the heights for phase 2 are increasing. Some by about, I think if you pull up, I think slide 4 or 5, Chris, I think we look at the average height increase that averages all these. But you're looking at roughly 20 to 30 feet height increase. And that's because, like I said, this transmission line was built about 100 years ago. Since then, standards and clearance requirements have changed pretty drastically. So we've got to raise those structure heights to meet those new minimal clearances.
67 to 81.
That's one of them. Yes. All of the, oh, go ahead. Is that sort of the average
That's
there?
the average,
Okay, yeah,
yes.
that's the so the average existing height 67 and the average proposed new height 81. But the specific structures are listed in the table as part of your material application materials.
So you want us to include the stipulation to remove the foundation?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with including that stipulation to remove any existing foundations to a minimum of 36 inches. And if there needs to be further discussion with the landowners, I know our construction team is happy to have those conversations. There's really, I think, only maybe 3, maybe 4 locations with existing concrete foundations. Most of these existing structures are wood poles directly embedded into the ground. Those wood poles will be removed completely.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing.
No one has signed up to speak.
Anyone online?
No one with a hand raised.
Okay, anyone in the room that didn't have a chance to sign? Yes, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. Baldwin Locker, Cars Creek Magisterial District, one of the primary landowners for this project. I just wanted to say that we have, in fact, come to an agreement with Dominion. We've had good discussions with them as of late, and we are in support of this project with the addition of the stipulation that the structures be removed to at least a minimum of 36 inches below ground. Otherwise, as all of the conditions as stated by Mr. Sladen are satisfactory to us, and we're happy to move forward with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Then we will close the public hearing. Any comments from the board?
Make a motion to approve with the added stipulation of removal of concrete structures 36 inches below ground level.
Okay,
I'll second.
and a second. Mr. McDaniel?
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Sladen.
I apologize. There's also a correction on number 4, upright support structures / poles and cross arms shall be monopole or H-frame.
With that, I'll modify my motion to include that as well.
Okay, you could, Mr. Lewis. All right. Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right, Mr. Sladen on the,
Yes, next up, we have Stephen D. and Christina M. Hart. Bear with me here. I'm gonna get my GIS caught up with me and go from there. All right. Stephen D. and Christina M. Hart, 688 Stillhouse Drive, Lexington, Virginia, have made an application for a special exception permit to develop and operate a country general store. Property is further identified as tax map number 47-A-54. That is highlighted in light blue here. Consisting of 84.775 acres per tax records. The property is located in the agricultural and general use zoning district, A2 zoning district, per section 603.03-6 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. Country, general stores are a use by special exception in the A2 zoning district. Per section 302.95 of the regulations, a general store, a country store, country, a general store, country, is defined as a single store which offers primarily for the sale of most of the following articles: bread, milk, cheese, fresh meats, vegetables, canned and bottled food, drinks, tobacco products, candy, papers, and magazines, and general hardware articles. Gasoline may also be offered for sale, but only as a secondary activity of a country store. Most recently, an amendment was added to state a restaurant may be operated on the premises, which provides meals to the general public. Property is owned by Stephen D. and Christina M. Hart and is located on the northwest side of the intersection of West Midland Trail, Route 60, and Fredericksburg Road, also Route 60 in that area. Property is in the Carrs Creek Magisterial District. Along with the general store, a limited brewery, some people call it a farm brewery, but per state code, it's called Code of Virginia, it's a limited brewery, is also proposed in the development plan per section 4.2, 206.1 and 15.2, 288.31 of the Code of Virginia. A limited brewery containing certain criteria is required to be an agricultural use. We of course have other limited breweries in the agricultural zones here in Rockbridge County. So to be clear, the only the limited brewery is not part of this special exception permit. It's the country store and associated restaurant. On September 11th, 2024, the Planning Commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the special exception applications with the following conditions. Number one, the development of the property, a portion of tax map number 47-A-54, 84.775 acres per tax records, for which the application being made shall be in substantially in accordance with the conceptual site plan titled, quote, site plan sheet C008 drawn by SD Hart PE dated August 15th, 2024. Number two, approval contingent on Virginia Department of Transportation, of course, VDOT, Health Department, Erosion Sediment Control, Stormwater Management, Building Department, and Virginia Alcoholic Control ABC Authority approvals and requirements. As stated in the agenda report, agenda item report, since the September 11th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Steve Hart has contacted the Office of Community Development and has suggested that a condition could be added that would prohibit the sales of gasoline and diesel fuel. Additionally, as stated in the staff report, staff would suggest that the board include a condition on the date associated with the implementation of the special exception. Where that comes from is following state law, our land development regulations, section 802.03-10 states a special exception must be put into effect 6 months after the date of the permit is issued, unless otherwise provided in the permit itself. And so historically, what we've done in those is an implementation of the project by date, by blank date, and project completion by blank date. And Mr. Hart's, I've had a conversation about both of those with Mr. Hart, obviously. And without further ado, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Hart to review the application.
All right, there we go. When we started our market 4 years ago, the idea was that we wanted to see if the market could be successful. And if it was, we would hope that it would grow into a store so that we could serve the community more than just a few days a week. Special exception requires that the exception be in accordance with the county code, follow the rules, and be in the public interest. So I always say, I expect other people to answer that question for y'all, so I figured I should too. So if I could get the next slide, Chris. Questions, why is this in a public interest? Those pictures were taken at our market about 3 weeks ago. Just some of the food offerings and other offerings that we have. Our market currently supports actually 13. There were 13 farms and businesses that sell at that market. Our county code requires that a farm has to have $1,000 in sales to be a farm. Well, if you're running a 500 calf operation, that's not actually too hard. But if you're running a very small farm on 20 or 30 or 50 acres, that's actually kind of hard. Because how do you access the customers? And if you're a customer that actually wants to buy from a local institution, that's actually kind of hard because you probably don't have all day to drive around to 17 different farms. So this is what our market has been able to do, and this is what we want to expand into the store. We want to be able to expand the offerings that farms are able to reach customers and customers are able to connect with the farms. So just for example, at the market 2 weeks ago, we had sausage, bacon, pork chops, duck, rabbit, and chicken, all available for sale. We used to have lamb, but our lamb vendor sold out, and our beef is not sold by the pound. So we think we do pretty well in being able to connect farmers to the customers. Next slide, please. That's generally where we want to put the building. If you've been by the farm on the Fredericksburg Road entrance, we're just south of the Big Springs entrance. We'll be up on top of the hill. The building will run right along my fence line. On the west side of the building, there will be a porch with a shed roof on it, which will overlook North Mountain and the two house mountains. So that's a place that folks will be able to eat their meals and gather. But generally, that's the footprint of the building. Next slide, please, Chris. And finally, that's the basic concept of the building. I have continued to work on this because I want to get this thing as small as possible and still be functional because I'm the one that has to build it and prepare all the materials. But there's going to be a retail space, a dining space, a serving and administration and bathroom space, a kitchen space, and a parking space for my son's KB6 truck, which is the namesake for this. And then there will be a spot for the brewery. We're actually going to move that into a separate building. There's a bunch of reasons for that in terms of what the requirements for the buildings are. Most importantly is you can't have bread yeast and beer yeast in the same building because I have learned that bread yeast makes for bitter beer and the two can't mix. So they're going to be separated by 5 feet in a dog trot. That is it. Oh, I'm sorry. The condition for gasoline, please include that. My farm is hydrologically connected to Big Springs. If I pour 100 gallons of water on my farm, in some period of time, it's in the Big Spring. In some period of time, it overflows into Carrs Creek, which flows into the Maury, which is upstream of the intake for the Maury River Service Authority. Gasoline sold on that site would be an incredibly bad idea because if there were a spill, it would be really bad for a lot of people. So I asked you would include that. And implementation wise, I plan on starting very quickly. VDOT has already approved everything. I have not turned in my request to start construction because they will be holding 10,000 of my dollars. But I plan to do that probably in October. And then I will spend this winter cutting the timbers for the building and hopefully break ground for the building sometime next spring or early summer. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. This time we'll open the public hearing.
No one has signed up to speak.
Okay, is there anyone online?
No hands raised.
Anyone present that didn't get a chance to sign up that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Doug Jones. I'm a resident of Carrs Creek and have been a resident for the last 12 years. I just wanted to lend my support to this project. We have needed a store for just basic sundries, and we have not had one the entire time I've lived there. So I'm really happy with putting this project online. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we will close the public hearing. Board comments?
Mr. Slayton, what you added, the thing that said staff would like to include a condition of date associated with implementation of special exception permit. What do you want there?
Yes, per section 802.03-10, a special exception must be put into effect 6 months after the date of the permit is issued, unless otherwise provided in the permit itself, and that does follow the Code of Virginia. With that being said, I'm not sure. Historically, what we've done is implementation of the project by blank date, which I think we got an answer there, and project completion by a blank date. So that would cover it. In my opinion, put into effect would essentially be operating as a country store.
Mr. Hart, you said you was going to start construction in next spring? Or hopefully?
It is my intention to build the entrance in October and then start construction of the building next spring, May, June timeframe. Of course, I'm a farmer, and look, the only reason my family can do this is I happen to be an engineer and can do my own engineering, and we're going to build it ourselves, and we're going to make most of the material ourselves. Otherwise, we couldn't afford it. That is
Any
my
idea how long it's going to take you to build it?
Well, you were going to give the solar folks 3 years to finish theirs.
Would 3 years be enough for you, Mr. Hart?
3 years would be wonderful, Mr. Lyons.
All right. Can you live with that? Yeah. Any other conditions, Chris?
So that would be November 1st. I'm going to say we'll get through this one. Implementation of the project by November 1st, 2024.
And completed by October 31st, 2027.
3 years. Yeah, November 1st, 2027.
October 31st.
October 31st. Fair enough. So other conditions that I've talked to with individual board of supervisors pertains to discussion of pertaining to trash disposal. Historically, what we've added in conditions is all trash shall be taken directly to the landfill and not a county collection center, or green boxes is ones we've used for essentially wedding event venues. The second thing that I've talked to individual supervisors as far as something, a relatively new change in the Code of Virginia, it comes under 15.2-2286. There was some varying opinions in the attorney world in the Commonwealth, whether the Board of Supervisors, governing body, if you will, had the authority to set time frames. Of course, as y'all know, Ms. Huffman had the opinion that we did not have the ability to set time frames associated with a special exception permit with some unique clauses here and there. With that being said, state law was clarified, if you will, and a sentence was added that said conditions may include a period of validity for a special exception permit or a special exception or special use permit. It goes on, it's a semicolon, but it goes on to say, in the case of special exceptions or special use permit for residential projects, the period of validity shall be no less than 3 years, excuse me. So that's another condition that we had talked about. And as I was talking to Mr. Hart prior to the meeting, we certainly, with something with a brick and mortar of this nature, anything with a brick and mortar, it could be problematic if the board set a condition that's valid for 5 years, valid for 10 years, because we ran into that with the sawmills. They were several sawmills were in the area. We're going through some financial exercises, and the bank realized essentially, hey, your permit is set to expire or be renewed, I should say, in the next 8 years. And so that was causing some issues in the financing world, obviously. With that being said, the board could consider something that states that it's discontinued for, 2 years or discontinued for however many long, a month, a day, 2 years, 5 years, that the permit itself would be null and void if it's discontinued for that long.
So if it ceases operation for, let's say, a period of 3 years, then someone just can't move into the county and say, oh, I'm opening a store here without coming back and getting a permit. Is that what I'm hearing?
That could be that could be a condition that could be utilized, yes.
So it's not a lifetime forever right to run a store there. So I think we should start doing this with all our permits, because otherwise we end up with several places that have shut down and they could be closed for 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden someone comes in and say, no, I'm opening it back up, and it's something we might not really want. So is 2 years something you can hold up high? 3?
I think that's a good number.
No, I would think if it ceases to operate for 3 years, then they lose their exceptional use.
Yeah, this permit is transferable. If Mr. Bart would sell the property to somebody else.
I guess as long as they continue operating it as a store.
That is correct. Yes. Some commentary there, state law, there was some draft state law last year or the year before that they were attempting to put that in there, that the special exception would be unique to a landowner, but that failed the General Assembly, if I recall correctly.
I'm good with the 3 years, and I'm also good with the addition Mr. Hart spoke of not allowing gasoline or diesel fuel on the property.
And trash disposal, you're good with.
I mean, typically we've said landfill with everything. Is there any reason to change with this?
No, I mean, it wasn't in there. It just added that.
It's my understanding that you can't take business trash to the collection centers
That's
anyway,
correct.
but this just sort of further verifies that, or enforcement capabilities, if you want to say that.
I mean, similarly, does it allow, I don't know if this works, does it allow for the business to have rent his own refuse?
Absolutely.
container and have that.
Absolutely. If
I don't know
it
that I
was taken,
specifically heard that.
if it's taken directly to landfill, you
That's
definitely,
called taking it.
absolutely. Yeah, it would be, I mean, you could put trash in a trash can and then take that trash to a dumpster out back and then have a service that takes that trash directly to the landfill. Yes, sir.
Want to be sure we're restricting something there.
Okay. So is that a motion, Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Okay. Second, anyone? We have a second. Any further discussion?
If I could, I'm very clear on the trash. We read that verbatim. We're very clear on the implementation of the project. The draft condition associated with the sale of gasoline and or diesel states the sale of gasoline and or diesel fuel shall be prohibited. And then as far as the time frame, if the general store ceases to operate for 36 months, the special exception permit will be null and void. Is that acceptable? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. We're still good, right?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good luck, Mr. Hart.
All right, Mr. Sladen.
Yes, I think we have some company in the hallway that can come on in, the applicants in the hallway. Next up is a rezoning, conditional rezoning from Amanda L. Goad and Jeffrey S. McDorman. The address associated with the tax records of the mailing address, I should say, not of the property, is 748 Valley Pike, Lexington, Virginia. Application for a conditional zoning map amendment from the agricultural and transitional district AT and the general business. So it's split zone. I'm gonna catch up with myself here. Bear with me here. All right, Amanda L. Goad and Jeffrey F. McDorman have made an application for a conditional zoning map amendment. The property is further identified as tax map number 49-A-56, highlighted in light blue on the screen. It consists of 0 acres per tax records. That's not uncommon for older parcels that were essentially less than an acre. But per a recent Dorsey plat, Dorsey surveying plat, it consists of 0.404 acres. As you can tell, it's currently split zoned with a portion being in the agricultural transitional. That's the light pink on the map, AT zoning district, and a portion being in the general business zoning district. That's the darker color, darker red on the map, which is, of course, the general business B1 zoning district. The application is rezoned the property to the general business zone B1 with acceptance of potential proffers. Those proffers have been submitted for your discussion, essentially, or acceptance. The property is owned by Amanda G. and Jeffrey S. McDorman per tax records, located on the southwest side of the intersection of Route 11, North Lee Highway Route 11, and Valley Pike. Valley Pike's further identified as 645 and is identified as 2659 North Lee Highway, Lexington, Virginia. Property is in the Walker's Creek Magisterial District. On August 14th, 2024, the Planning Commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the conditional rezoning application with acceptance of proffers. With that being said, Ms. Goad is in attendance to answer any questions, and then also the potential leasee, Mr. John Randolph, is in attendance as well. If either one of y'all would like to make comments, it's be perfect time.
My name is John Randolph, and I'm originally from Brownsburg, Virginia. I've had business in Rockbridge County before, which was in Buena Vista. Back in 1990s, I had a NASCAR store. Basically, Wilfred Ramsey had the little shopping center down in Buena Vista. So I had a store down there called Toy Shack. And basically, what I'm trying to say over there, I know how to comply with all the rules and regulations and everything. So all we're basically asking for is to have this zone business instead of have the agriculture part taken off. Pretty much everybody knows this place down here at Super George had it for years, and had fireworks and had the rattlesnake in there, and everybody used to stop in there and everything like that. I kind of stepped ahead a little bit when I talked to Amanda about renting this place to start a business there. And basically I was looking to do more like landscaping, have stuff that you sell with stuff for the yard, so as decorative stone, sand, gravel, and bird houses, anything you would decorate your yard with and everything like that. So I went ahead and like set some bins up to put my stuff at, put my mulch and everything like that. And then I talked to VDOT. It was like, and against the regulations, that it was too close to the road with these bins and things, where I had the concrete bin set up and everything. So I talked to Chris and everything, and basically I agreed to remove these bins because I don't want to be as far as a hazard, safety hazard to the road or anything like that. So but basically what my plans is, my general plans is now, of it is that I'm gonna rent another lot to put these bins at. But I want to be able to use the building for just general merchandise, like if I want to sell like a flag or a birdhouse or just small products. And if I have something be in a bag or something like that, it won't be having to worry about traffic to as far as Route 11 or anything like that. So basically, Chris has been working with me, and I say thank you, Chris, for helping me, everything like that, because I didn't know all the rules and regulations, and I really appreciate you telling us everything. So this basically is kind of self-explanatory with what I'm planning on doing. As far as it's just a small business, and I'm not coming in and doing a big excavating. Everybody thought I was going to do excavating because I've done paving and excavating most of my life, but I'm not. I just retired in October. So, I'm drawing my Social Security, so I'm just looking for something kind of small to do. I'm not going to do a big paving excavating business or nothing like that. I do have a partner, which is out of West Virginia, which they do own a big paving operation. They own the asphalt plant over in Lewisburg, West Virginia, which is called Greenbrier Paving and Excavating. They have no intentions of being worried about paving and stuff in Rockbridge County because they got their hands full for us in Lewisburg, for us with asphalt and stuff over there. And they do full-time racing on the professional level racing. So it's not like I say, I'm not definitely don't want to do the paving thing anymore. So basically all I'm asking for of it is to have this rezoned. Far as references in some of these people that you all know in this area that I'm very good friends with, is Michael Sandwich. He was worked at the sheriff department for years. Me and Michael graduated together. We were in the same class together. I went to Wilson graduated, but he stayed and graduated Rockbridge. But we're still like best friends today. Me and Frankie Pennington, we're still best friends. I helped him on his race team and everything. JD Gold, which is Amanda's brother, me and him are still best friends. I could probably name a few people that you all know, like Bruce Patterson. And I grew up with Bruce Patterson in Brownsburg. Tommy, well, I was good friends with Tommy Bear, but he passed away. But Booper Bear and all of us are still best friends. So most everybody that knows me from Rockbridge County, they'll give me a good reference. So I don't know what else to say besides I hope y'all give us a chance.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
Thank you.
If I may add just a few things. So this one was somewhat unusual as far as the bins being placed. We actually got a call from VDOT saying, hey, what have y'all approved down there? And I said, I'm not sure what's going on, and so we had not approved the business license. So as you could tell on the plat, they were required to get it surveyed because we did not have a recent survey. So per the it's a legal plat dated 5/13/24 from Mr. Dorsey, a signed plat, I should say, consisting of 4.04 acres, but the building is actually 8.8 feet away from the property line and the edge of the road right of way are one and the same in this particular case. And so that's when, no, in fact, I was about to say that's when we reached out to the landowner, but we did not do that. In fact, the partner came in with the business license, and that's where we started this conversation.
Okay. All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone signed up to speak?
There's no one signed up to speak.
Anybody online, Mr. Suter?
No hands raised.
Anybody in attendance that didn't get a chance to sign up that would like to speak? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing.
And if I may just add, knowing the uniqueness of the property, the size of the property, I worked with the Office of Community Development, I should say, worked with Ms. Goat and Mr. McDorman. And so what you have in front of you, or in your package, I should say, is a signed proffer statement by both individuals stating that the property shall be utilized for one or more of the following uses. And so there's 1 through 9 that essentially we sat down with and said, okay, well, we know this isn't going to be a hotel. We know this isn't going to be this and this. So these were the uses that seemed that could be palatable for this particular property. And so obviously y'all can accept all proffers. Y'all have the ability to accept proffers as they stand. Y'all have the ability to reject certain proffers as well.
Any discussion by the board?
the concrete structures that you had in place, it's that for landscaping materials or what was it? And is there a creek that runs back there?
There is, yes. If
Is it
needed,
any
it's-
flood
it
zone?
it is in the floodplain as well. Yes, a portion of the property is in the floodplain. Yes. And so we're on the same page that those bins were for hardscaping materials essentially. VDOT's concern was not necessarily with the location of the bin. If I recall correctly, they had some questions on the farthest bin away from Route 11, but their primary concern was the loading and unloading of the hardscaping material. So we're on the same page with VDOT as well as the landowner and the potential leasee that those bins would be essentially removed. I mean, those that portion of the business, I mean, those type of improvements would have to go through the TCO. The VDOT's involved in site plan review on some levels, and so long story short, that layout and that use did not work for VDOT.
So it's not included with this.
That is correct. I mean, it could be a retail or service establishment, but then it goes back down to site plan review and exterior features. And so we're all on the same page that that business is planning to be relocated to another property that's zone business that does not have the same restrictions. Let's put it that way. But that would be considered a retail business essentially. But any one of these businesses, even automobile sales, you could not park vehicles in the VDOT right of way for sales. Therefore, the landscaping business, you could not put hardscape materials in the VDOT right of way, nor load hardscape materials in the VDOT right of way, I should say.
Did you say that the structure is only 8 foot from the VDOT right away?
Yes, sir. According to the survey, the structure is 8.8 feet away from the right of way. Yes, sir.
What do you plan on selling there, or
Basically,
could you come up to the mic? I'm sorry.
If you don't talk right in the microphone, no one online can hear you.
Yeah. But basically, just general sales stuff, just like if it's birdhouses, just like if I have flags like VMI flags, Virginia Tech, UVA, basically just odds and ends. I mean, not nothing like the hardscaping thing like that. That's what I talked to the surveyor because he has a piece of property over from that. That's where I planned on moving the concrete blocks that hold the hardscape. I was planning on moving them over there. Then if somebody came in and they wanted to buy mulch or something like that, what I would do over there, I would just take and have them loaded from over. I mean, I'd sell it right there, but I'd have them loaded over there. So there wouldn't be no hazard as far as with VDOT or anything with that, because everything would be, there's not going to be bins. Those concrete blocks is not going to be on the property. So, once I didn't want to go to the expense of moving those blocks over to another piece of property if I didn't have a building that I could even sell anything. So it's basically if once I know that I'm able to sell mulch or decorative stone or anything that's dealing with the yard stuff, then I would go ahead and rent the property over there so that I could put the concrete blocks over there and set up. As far as like I said, as far as general sales and everything like that, I've had sales like as far as the diecast NASCAR. I've sold Barbie dolls. I've sold baseball cards. So, but basically, just kind of like any household type of stuff.
Yeah.
As far as tobacco and firearms, I'm not into selling tobacco, firearms, or stuff like that. Basically, I mean, I ain't trying to sell anything illegal or nothing like that neither. So,
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Come on, Dave.
Mr. Slayton, I'm fine with the rezoning and I'm fine with the retail sales in that building. My question would be on the proffers, why we would include some of these for that particular location?
So proffers are voluntary, unlike conditions. Conditions associated with special exception are not voluntary. They don't have to be agreed upon. Conditions have to be sound, reasonable, associated with the use of land. Proffers are different than conditions, and proffers have to be voluntary. And so essentially what I sat down with Ms. Goode and Mr. McDormand, in fact, I think it was on that level was only Ms. Goode. We looked at that some of these uses that could be palatable, such as a vet clinic or a kennel, a single family dwelling. Could it be converted back to a single family, or could it be converted to a single family dwelling, I should say. Some other ones you could certainly not accept, obviously. I mean, the ones I could see, small scale automobile sales, type thing, but it would have to be conducive to the property and approved by the various agencies, I should say, as well, for that particular use. So if there's any on here that you are not comfortable with, it's my understanding that you can accept all proffers, or you can reject some of the proffers.
But the owner's good with the proffers. They submitted them.
They are voluntary, and
yeah.
both owners signed the proffer statement. Yes,
Oh.
yes, sir.
But once we approve this, I mean, they could turn around and put a kennel operation there on the property, right?
That's
because
correct.
that's one of the proffers.
That's correct. Yes.
And I guess that's my question. Why would we approve that? I mean, to me, that should be something that if they want to do that, they come back and we discuss that particular use.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Absolutely. With this one being directly on Route 11, that has pros and cons as far as the size parcel. But if this was a larger parcel with greater setbacks, I'm not sure we would be concerned on any type of use. A quick service restaurant, a franchise, that type of thing. With it being proximity to the interstate, and then, proximity to or direct frontage on Route 11.
Chris, how close is it to R1?
R1, I'd say we're pretty far away. We are, from building to R1 is approximately 550 feet.
Okay. I was just looking at the 200 feet from any residence.
There is a provision in the land development regulations on the business zone provided, or here it is, section 605.02. Such purposes shall be at least a distance at least 200 feet from any residential zoning district. And so that's from the building. To answer that question directly, I would probably use the property line. Property line is 400 and some odd feet. And I might not have said the building correct. The building is 531 feet approximately. Property line, again, approximately 470 feet. So that's one you certainly you could reject number 7. Reject accepting.
Number 3. As far as number 3, automobile sales, I know that's something that we're not going to do. I mean that's something that I know it's not enough room there for automobile sales. I mean, as far as I know that what they do on regulations that they give you so many area for how many cars, but it's most you probably have is 2 or 3 cars to sell, so it wouldn't be even worth getting a license to try to sell automobiles there. I didn't bring my paper, so I just got it on my phone. So what I'm looking at, the same thing you all looking at.
Yes.
So I know the number 4.
Newspaper office or printing shops.
Yeah, that's something there that I know that's not gonna happen. I mean, I think that I agree with what you all are saying. It's something or one of these things here. If it's something that it would have to come back before you all to approve it on some of these things.
And I'm not saying that we necessarily wouldn't approve it. It's just, a more direct, specific conversation about that particular use.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Be my question.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, if I'm looking at something like number 9, it's a museum. I don't know what, you know, where that, well, I understand when it was just what he's saying. This is just some of the general things that y'all have the option to oppose or whatever. But some of the things that, basically what we're more interested in is the general sales of just having like a store there than anything else.
The proffers, I actually just went through and picked potential things because it is for rental property. I just went through things that I thought maybe could. So they're not really set in stone. It's not for him. I actually did that.
Okay.
I was just picking ones that I thought maybe could, as it mean it is a rental property.
And Chris, Mr. Slade, I'm sorry. You know, if we pick out 3 or 4 of these, there's no reason that if Ms. Goad wanted to come back to us and say, well, I've changed my mind, I want to do X, then we could consider that for that particular property, correct? I mean, it's not like
It would be
because-
amendment of the proffers, but now I'm sort of saying, so proffers must be submitted before the public hearing by the governing body and may not be material amended once the public hearing begins without holding another public hearing, provided that the governing body may waive the requirement for a public hearing if the amendment does not affect conditions of use or density. But let me go through here to see if I do know y'all have the ability to reject. They either accept or reject the proffers as well.
And this may be a moot point. I mean, the rest of you, do you have any concerns over that or not? If you don't, then we can move on. I'm just.
It goes on to say a governing body is not required to accept all proffers.
I might have to recuse myself again, David, if I start going through the list. But
I mean,
I'm sorry, Dan. I gotta finish. I did talk to Chris about that today. I looked at the list and had some questions about what was the genesis of this. So I can understand where you're coming from. I guess I felt comfortable with the planning commission recommendation, having gone through that and the proposed use of the proposed potential leasee proposed use. But you're asking valid, good questions.
Yeah, and I can live with the proffers because I think most of them wouldn't be able to go there anyway. But just because of the lay of the land, and you're not gonna put a newspaper office and a printing press out there because they don't have them anywhere. If anywhere, we probably had the Advocate printing their own papers downtown before that happened. But I mean, if I don't have any problem not accepting some, because that doesn't close the doors. This can always come back if they get a new leasee that says, look, I want to open a newspaper office and put a printing press out here. So you can come back and request permission to do that. Maybe Mr. Harwood would let it.
And reading this further, if the proposed amendment would materially affect the proposal, either because the amendment would remove or reduce the proper restrictions or impose additional restrictions, the amended rezoning application must be re-advertised under Virginia Section 15.2-2204 and 15.2-2285, and an additional public hearing must be held. However, the governing body may waive the requirement for a public hearing if the amendment does not affect conditions of the use or density. Of course, we're talking about affecting the use of the property, and that's out of Virginia Code Section 15.2-2302.
And Chris, if I understand this correctly, the proffers actually act as a limitation. Because if otherwise, if the proffers weren't there, it could be used, since it's being rezoned, it could be used for anything within that zoning.
Absolutely, that is
So
correct.
actually what's on there, it's not as though that's a approval, those can be used there. It just means that the limitation of what can be done on there are the things that are listed. And so it's actually, so this is more restrictive than if we pass it with rejecting the proffer, then they can do anything on that is allowed under the zoning. So the intent of the proffer was to restrict the usage on the property.
Any other concerns, questions? Hearing none,
I'd make a motion to approve.
a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
With what, Sir Chris?
Acceptance of the ordinance with
I'm
conditions.
sorry, yes, I apologize. Acceptance of the ordinance with conditions listed attached.
And a second. All right, Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Passes. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for working through all that. I know it's,
Absolutely.
it can be frustrating.
We got a little way to go, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, any board comments? Just remember, our next meeting is October 15th. Tuesday, no, or because of Columbus Day. We have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank y'all.